So it's again. So our goal was to sort of see if we could push the technology to where we thought we needed to tell the story the way the story needed to be told. And we went to Fox 4 years ago, and we asked them to support us for a year while we did just that. And that's what we did with Rob Legato and all of that you're familiar with.
Right.
But it was all, again, in service of a story. So before we look at these scenes, let me give you the Niccolo view on the story. Avatar is set in the future. When is not important. We start out on Earth. But I tell people that starting out on Earth, it's like Dorothy starting out in Kansas. It ain't about Kansas. It's about going to this fantastic place. She went to Oz. We go to a planet called Pandora. And the pun is definitely intended. But what happens in both of these movies is we meet our key character at the beginning. In this case, we meet Jake Sully, a 20-something-year-old ex-Marine who's paralyzed from the waist down from fighting a war he didn't even know why he was fighting. We hear him say something at the beginning of the movie in a voiceover, that he always wanted to fight for something, but he never found anything truly worth fighting for. Just then, he's approached by two men in suits, and they ask him if he is in fact Jake Sully, Tommy Sully's identical twin brother. He says that he is, but he hasn't seen his brother in like 15 years and asks what the men want with him. The men explain that his brother has tragically died in an accident, something Jake's sorry to hear, but again, they weren't very close. And the men further explain that his brother works for the same company that they work for, and they want Jake to now come take his brother's place working for their company. And Jake's like, what are you talking about? Well, the men explain that they are part of an interstellar mining company. And on this planet Pandora, they've discovered a mineral that in colloquial terms is called unobtainium. Unobtainium is a superconductor for energy. It's worth $20 million an ounce down here on Earth, but it's very expensive to mine on the planet. And one of the reasons it's so expensive to mine is that we can't breathe the air when we go out. So we have to wear masks, and it's cumbersome and all those things. But on the planet, there exists an indigenous population. They're aliens. We happen to refer to them as Navis. These Navis are close to 10 feet tall. They're blue. They have tails. And the corporation tries to do what we so often try and do when we go into foreign lands, which is co-opt the natives into doing our bidding for us. Well, the Navis want to have nothing to do with the corporation. So the corporation resorted to what they felt was the next best thing, and they created a hybrid program, which is a mix of human DNA and alien DNA, and out of that is literally born and grown these hybrids. These hybrids are also close to 10 feet tall, maybe a slightly lighter shade of blue. In the face of these hybrids, or these avatars, you recognize the human whose DNA was used. And in fact, the human whose DNA was used has to go to the planet, get inside a machine that we just refer to as a link machine, and have their consciousness transported into the avatar body to awaken and to control the avatar. His brother, a scientist, was a part of this program, and because Jake is the only DNA match in the world, because he's an identical twin, they now need him to come take his brother's place and control this avatar. Jake's not interested and starts to wheel away, and one of the guys calls after him and says, you'll be able to walk again. And they explain that through the avatar, you feel and you experience whatever the avatar feels and experiences. Jake decides to go. It's a time cut. It's 5 years later. He's coming down in a shuttle landing at the planet. That's how long it takes to get to the planet. And he looks out the windows and he sees the most beautiful sights he's ever seen. 900-foot-tall rainforest trees, flocks of purple birds in the sky, herds of strange cattle on the plains. Further up in the sky, floating mountains with cascading waterfalls. Absolutely gorgeous. He looks back to the rainforest, and suddenly there's a scar that's ripped in all this beauty. And it's the hand of the corporation. It's where they've done a clear-cutting operation and set up their base right in the middle of the rainforest. And when he lands and he looks out at the trees that were once so beautiful from the sky, they're now nothing but a charred-out wall where fire has burned them back. And everybody who approaches him tells him how horrific it is to be on the planet, how the Navis are a dangerous race, how they're always attacking, how the creatures are dangerous and they're always attacking. Nonetheless, this was the world that he was thrust into. He goes into the link machine for the first time and he awakens in the avatar body and he goes out with a group of other avatars. And sure enough, when they're out in the rainforest, they're attacked by one of these creatures. And he gets separated from his group and he's being stalked by a creature we call a viper wolf. The viper wolf's about to kill him when suddenly out of the woods flies an arrow and it fells the viper wolf. And he looks up and standing there, having just fired the arrow, is the hottest 9'10" blue woman you've ever seen. And her name is Neytiri. And really, we sort of then set up a Pocahontas type of relationship, where Jake is invited back to the Na'vi village. It's the first time any Avatar has been invited to their village, and they live inside of one of these giant trees, 300 feet wide at the bottom. And he begins to learn things. He begins to learn how to use his body again. He begins to learn that the creatures that we think are so frightening, that the Na'vis have a symbiotic relationship with. But whenever he goes to sleep as the Avatar, he awakens back at the base, and now everybody wants to manipulate him in different directions. The science program wants to know how the Na'vis live. The miners, they want to know where the unobtainium is. And the security forces, they just want to know how the Na'vis do their military operations. We'll wipe them out and we'll take what we need. So Jake goes back and forth through these two character journeys. On the one side, when he's the Avatar, he learns an appreciation for things he never appreciated before. He appreciates the world around him. He begins to fall in love with not just the Omaticaya people, the Na'vi people, but with Neytiri herself. And what he also learns is that by our mining the planet, we're destroying the planet. And this gives him that thing that he's always been missing, that thing that is worth fighting for. And he decides to lead the revolution of the Na'vis and their primitive weapons against the corporation and their high-tech weapons. And he does this knowing that if he is successful, it'll force the Avatar program off the planet and he can no longer be with the woman he loves. So